The 2025 Gold Cup will be the last form of competitive games for the US men's national team prior to the 2026 World Cup. Without World Cup qualifying, we are left only with friendlies to prepare for this massive event. And the national team has been struggling lately, actually for quite some time, even under Mauricio Pochettino. This will be Pochettino's very first full month camp with the national team, so once again, I can't really overemphasize how important this Gold Cup actually is. Now in 2021 and 2023, for those Gold Cup editions, the US men's national team brought a B or a C team. For this one, it must 100% be an A squad. So today, we're going to go through what the US men's national team Gold Cup roster here in 2025 should look like. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. So listen, it's not really a roster prediction video. It's more of what I think the roster should look like, which will probably be a better roster than Pochettino's. And for this episode, I am going to bring Pete from 11 Yanks to help me build a proper US roster for this Gold Cup. And remember, Pete is a younger and more exotic looking Brad Pitt, and he will be here to talk about the US men's national team. And keep in mind that Pochettino can bring up to a 26-man roster, so I kind of expect him to bring 26 players, which means I'm going to be building a 26-man roster today. And if you kindly could, make sure to drop a like in this video right now. This is a very special video. It's not every day that you see taller and better looking Tom Cruise talking to younger and more exotic Brad Pitt about the US men's national team. This is a very special occasion. This is a very rare occasion. Pretty much like the one time where Obi-Wan and Anakin fought each other on Star Wars and then one of them got cut in half. This is a very special moment, so drop a like for that. And this video is brought to you by Sorare, but more on that later. Let's roll the intro and bring in Brad Pitt. Okay, everyone, we're back for an episode where we are super excited for this team. Okay, Pete, we are excited for this team. We are, right?
Yes, with a question mark. I mean, I guess. Sure. No, I mean, we have to be, right?
I mean, I think what it is like we're a bit on a low, but once the World Cup comes, excitement will come back. But if they do a good job in the Gold Cup, all that excitement can come back very quickly in the lead up to the 2026 World Cup. So today we're going to do this video of like what roster Pochettino should bring to the Gold Cup, which again, it should be an A roster. There are a few players that won't be available due to the Club World Cup and due to injuries. Like we can already anticipate, like Ricardo Pepi's likely out with a knee injury, and Timothy Weah and Weston McKennie, as long as they stay with Juventus, they're likely out because they'll be in the Club World Cup. Gio Reyna will probably not be with Dortmund, so I think it's safe for us to assume he'll be there. So we'll talk about whether or not we should even bring Gio, or he should maybe go seek a move and figure that out. But we'll dive into this roster today. We'll go goalkeepers, which will be 3, fullbacks, which will be 4, center backs will be 5, midfielders will be 7, wingers will be 4, and center forwards will be 3. And we're going to build this together, Pete. We're going to do it together as a team. Batman and Robin, but as I said before, we're both Robin. None of us are Batman, unfortunately. But anyhow, why don't we start with goalkeepers? I'm actually quite interested. Who should we bring as? Because I'm going to tell you right away, I would not bring Matt Turner. I'll leave him out for this one. I wouldn't.
So who do you have in mind? I guess my problem with the goalkeepers is I don't think there's anybody necessarily better than Matt Turner right now. Maybe in better form, you could argue. But all of our goalkeepers are so mid that it's kind of like, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
So what I would bring is since they're all so bad and so mid, the third goalkeeper, I would bring Diego Cochin. Not the goal of playing him, but I would have him there for the whole month. Since this is the longest camp Pochettino will have, they're not meant to play. And also at this point, the goalkeepers are so mid. Even if he's a very young goalkeeper and the level drops, it might not even drop that much.
No.
It might not even drop. To
be fair, he is playing the Spanish third division. He's not, it's with the Barcelona Academy, but they are playing in a competitive league. It's not like, he's playing only academy ball.
Yeah, and a lot of what Matt Turner has done for the national team lately, and even in the Premier League, if you put coach in, he'll probably put up as bad of a performance. So it's not like it would matter. So I would bring him as the third option. Now, what's interesting here is if we go based on like form, um, I would consider giving Horvath another shot because he is playing for Cardiff and he's been doing okay, like decent in the championship. They're
Yeah,
probably going to get relegated, but that's a different
separate
discussion.
issue.
Yeah, separate issue, but I would just give him a shot. Also, kind of want to put Turner back on his place. Like, hey, you know what? Why don't you figure out your club situation this summer? We don't have to see you here. You have been crap lately. We know you can do better, but
Yeah,
just go sort that out. We've
yeah,
seen enough. And the other one is I don't think he's necessarily better than Turner, like you said. I kind of consider just bringing Zach Steffen. I'm not sold on Schulte. He's been very shaky. So I'd probably give Zach Steffen another shot.
yeah. I think that's probably what I would do too. Stefan Horvath coaching, and probably have Stefan as the starter.
Yeah, I think that would be fair. And I wouldn't mind if we played Diego coaching. Well, actually, the teams in the group stage, we have Saudi Arabia, Trinidad and Tobago, and Haiti, which technically Haiti and Trinidad should be easy wins, but we've seen those not be easy wins. So,
No, no.
yeah.
It's you give like look, if we're advanced, maybe you give coaching the third game or half of the third game, but he's
It's
really
Haiti,
more
right?
there.
I think it's Haiti, the third game.
Yeah, I think it's Haiti. If we've already advanced, which means we beat Saudi Arabia, which by the way, all bets are off now because we can't beat Panama or Canada at home. And
Yeah.
sure, Canada's probably better than Saudi Arabia, but I'm not putting like, oh, that's an easy win anywhere right now with the way this team's playing. So nothing is guaranteed.
Well, in Trinidad, we were at that game 2 years ago when we played them at home, and it was 3-0, I believe so.
It was 3-0.
But we
Yeah.
didn't score till the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
played man up. That at
Yes.
home. So if Trinidad wants to make a tough game, the way our players have been behaving and playing, sure, that was under Berhalter at the time, but
Yeah.
regardless, we haven't looked much better, if better at all, under Pochettino. So if the players play the way they're playing, Trinidad can be a trap game, which we could end up drawing. I mean, we should be beating them 4-0 at home.
Yeah.
It should be something like that. But we've decided to go the approach of being very cautious with our predictions of this national team lately. We're putting that bar low as if we're playing limbo right now. It's as low as it can get.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. And this team has earned that. They've earned that, right?
Yeah.
With their performances. Like,
But I do think, again, this team should go and win the Gold Cup. That's what
no,
I'm
I
trying
agree.
to believe.
And that's why nobody should get the summer off. Everybody needs to show up and play their butts off. Like, nobody's earned a summer off here.
So we're going to go with Stefan, Horvath, and Diego Cochin. Matt Turner, we tell him to go figure out his club situation, and then we'll go from there after with the friendlies. Now, before we continue, a quick word from the sponsor of this video, Sorare. We'll be back in 60 seconds. Do you collect sports cards? Do you play fantasy sports? Yes, no, maybe? If you said yes to any of that, I got something for you. And if you said no, you might still want to stick around. Tactical Manager TV is partnering up with Sorare with a special offer. The link will be in the description. In Sorare, you can collect your own virtual cards of your favorite players. And then you may be asking, why would I want to collect virtual cards? Well, you can line them up on 5-a-side games every single week. And if your players perform in real life, you can win actual money, signed jerseys, game tickets, or even more cards to improve your own club. And you can also get unique experiences like a friend of the channel, Fiago, that got to meet Zinedine Zidane. You know what's also cool? They also have the NBA and Major League Baseball. I'm mainly gonna just stick to soccer, but you do you. What I really like about Sorare, before we even partnered with them, is that they're unlike other fantasy games where you have to pay per play. In Sorare, you pay to get the players you want permanently as cards. And then you can play multiple times using those same cards, at least until the player retires, win rewards if your players perform in real life. You can also buy undervalued player cards for cheap, then hold, use them in the future when they improve or develop, and then you can even sell that card when its value goes up for better ones. Or just keep the money yourself. And if you use the link in the description of this video, you will get $50 in credit after buying your first 5 cards through auctions or instant buy at any prices. Play with responsibility. All right, enjoy. All right, Pete, we're back. Now we're going to be talking about center backs. And this is where things start to get a bit more interesting. And I have been bringing 5 center backs because we can bring a 26-man roster. So I think that's fair to say that 5 center backs would be there. At the time of this recording, all the ones we're going to mention, they are healthy. So I'm going to give you who I would bring, and you tell me what you agree or disagree with. I would still bring Tim Ream. I wouldn't start him, but I would have him there. A little bit due to lack of options, but I
Yeah,
would bring Tim Ream. And I think on the bench for leadership and experience, I think he's fine. And he's not a terrible player.
agree.
Chris Richards and Mark McKenzie, for sure. Even though
Yeah,
McKenzie seems to love dropping stinkers for the national team, I'd still bring Mark
at least
McKenzie.
one per game, right? That seems to be his
Yeah,
ratio.
yeah,
But so
at
did Chris
least.
Richards, right, against Panama.
Yeah, it's like the same average I have of dropping stinkers every time I drink a cup of coffee. It's the same average, one per cup. One per cup. They do one per game. Um,
One per game.
yeah, and I do one per cup. And then I would bring Noah Kai Banks. I would
Hmm.
bring Noah Kai Banks. I would have him on the Gold Cup. If you're going to bring 5 center backs, you might as well bring the most promising young center back right now that could possibly have a shot on being ready for the World Cup. He's gotten Bundesliga minutes this year. He's looked fine. And I would expect the minutes to trend up next season. And if he's getting half of the minutes in the Bundesliga next year, I think that's probably good enough to make our roster at this point. Henri Chase is always an option, a dual national from Stuttgart, Japanese American. When it comes to dual nationals with Pochettino, I know this is our roster, but we can't count on players that are not technically with us right now, and that Pochettino would rather go through like Atlanta United's pregame ritual rather than recruit the dual nationals that we need. So I'm not counting Henri Chase. And with that said, I'm going to put Cameron Carter-Vickers as the 5th center back right now. Is there anything you disagree with? And if you agree, is that what you go with?
Absolutely
Why?
no. I mean, I didn't have Noah Kai Banks on my roster necessarily, but it's like at this point, it's him or Trusty, right? And Trusty is not a high ceiling center back, right? I mean, he's had some good games in Scotland. He's had some bad ones. He's had some good Champions League performances and some bad ones. At this point, it's like if it's 5 center backs, you have enough quote unquote quality or guys that you know can play well enough, at least they do for their clubs, that you can afford to take a gamble on a younger, maybe more high ceiling player. So that sits fine with me.
Yeah, and again, if you truly only need 4 center backs, like more or less for starters and depth, so that 5th one is an extra one, and then you give the kid a shot, give him experience. Also, you give him 1 year before the World Cup a full month of national team experience, which if
Yeah,
he comes to the World Cup, he already have part of that. Of course, World Cup, Gold Cup, different beast, completely different
completely.
beast.
Yeah.
But again, he'll be there with it. He'll know how the team plays. No Pochettino. I would do that. So Ream, Richards, McKenzie. So Tim Ream from Charlotte FC. Chris Richards from Crystal Palace, Mark McKenzie from Toulouse. That's been really bad lately, by the way, his club. Cameron Carter-Vickers from Celtic, and then young promising center back Noah Kai Banks from Augsburg. Those are the center backs. Why don't you start with the fullbacks? I would bring 4. So we agree that 4.
Yeah, 4 fullbacks. And to be honest, 3 are not even, they're no brainers, right? It's Dest, it's Scally, and A-Rob. Since we're talking about what we would do, it would be go to Nathaniel Brown's house with a gift basket and do not leave his house until he commits to playing for us. It's that simple. Like, this is not complicated. It is not. There's no competition in this pool for those 4. Nobody comes close. Maybe you could make an argument for Scally, but even Scally's been fairly solid. So we need to go get Nathaniel Brown. That's it. That's what Poch needs to do, and that's what we would do. Now, if we're saying hypothetically Brown wants to play for Germany or we don't want to recruit him, then it's a different story. I would probably bring then Caleb Wiley because the options are Wiley, Token, Paredes, Lund. I
Marlon
mean,
Fossey.
Fossey, sure, you could. He didn't look that great against Canada, to be honest, when he came on.
No.
Wiley, look, he's just back from injury, had a couple good games for Watford. He's the youngest of the left back options not named Nathaniel Brown, or even with Nathaniel Brown, he's the youngest. So I'd probably then just bring him if we're not going to go get Nathaniel Brown. But the number one priority needs to get Nathaniel Brown, not only as cover at left back, but he can play left wing back, being scouted by Premier League sides, being scouted by Atletico Madrid. There's no excuse to not go get this guy.
Yeah, in an ideal world, we would just go there and recruit the living crap out of this guy until he commits, which, of course, not all of it is under our control, well, or Pochettino's control, because Nathaniel Brown could very well just say, hey, dude, I want to play for Germany. And
Sure.
that's fine. But what we've been hearing is that they're aware of Nathaniel Brown, but the recruitment has been more or less just kind of like, yeah, you want to play here? No, okay, that's all right. Okay.
If they've reached out to him at all, we don't know if they've even reached out to him at all. So
yeah, like they're just like they're aware that he's there. It's like he's there. We
yeah,
played Football Manager. We've seen him in the video game, but yeah, we didn't feel like sending him an email or a DM on Instagram. We just left him there. Well, yes, let's assume Nathaniel Brown is not available for the US because recruiting is not Pochettino's thing. I'll probably just go with Wiley as well. I would agree with that. He played in MLS fine. He's holding his own in the championship. Probably wouldn't be a player I would want to play in a World Cup right now. But I think for a Gold Cup and because he's young and promising, like we talked about Noah Kai Banks, I see no issue. I would probably bring also Caleb Wiley. So Dest, A-Rob, Scally, those three are locks right now for the fullback. You cannot bring them. And then you just bring Caleb Wiley. John
yeah.
Tokens also, he might be in the second Bundesliga next year. Holstein Kiel might get relegated. They
It looks
probably
like
will get relegated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it for the fullbacks. Midfielders. First and foremost, we talked about this before recording. Weston McKennie will likely be with Juventus in the Club World Cup. If he's not, he's a lock. If he's not, right? We can put it that way. But we have to assume he won't be there because at the time of this recording, I don't see why he would leave Juventus, and he would probably be there. So no Weston McKennie. We eliminate him. We have 7 midfielders to pick. I think we can. Let's start with the locks. The locks. Tyler Adams, if healthy, will be a lock. I think Johnny, despite the underwhelming time with the U.S. men's national team right now, he would be a lock for the roster. And then let's see what he does. Johnny. I still think who?
Malik.
You put him as a lock?
I mean, if he's healthy and playing well, I probably is.
Malik Tillman, Gio Reyna.
Gio Reyna is the question mark. In my opinion, one of the issues that we had during Nations League was the lack of a creative midfielder. And I would still bring Diego Luna, but without Weston McKennie, not that he's so creative necessarily, I would probably still bring Gio Reyna. Even if you don't start him when you're facing a bunker, like I think we maybe could have benefited from bringing Gio on sooner against Canada. I mean, he did create 3 chances from set pieces. I know that's not the creativity we're necessarily looking for. But even a bad form Gio Reyna, especially for the Gold Cup, like if you're trying to break down Trinidad and Tobago, you throw Gio Reyna on and see what he can do, even if you don't start him. I would probably bring Gio just as that X factor, and maybe you don't start him in every game.
I had Gio ahead of Tillman on this
Okay.
one. I thought Gio was more of he was a lock to me because what I was thinking was Tillman, Luna, and Gio, those are not really defensive type. There would be more like 10s. But I don't see an issue of bringing all 3. And the reason for that is we're bringing 7 midfielders, right? 7. So you can bring 4 that can play the double pivot, which can defend and attack. Like Tyler Adams and Johnny are 2 more defensive, right? They'll be in double pivot. Then you can add Tanner Tessman that can play there too, regardless of his stinker for the Nations League. I think it's worth giving Tessman another look. And you can bring another defensive midfielder right there, or maybe bring like a Busio or even Paxton. Paxton can play.
I was going to make a case for Paxton actually.
He can play the 8.
Yeah, yes, he's playing there for Utrecht, and to be honest, I might, because Tessman is more defensive and not really a goal contributor. I wonder if you already have Johnny and Adams. Like, do you really need another defensive player on that roster? I wonder if it might be better to get more of an 8, because so we're not having Musa. We're classifying Musa as a winger, right?
Yes.
Simply because Tim Weah is out, so we're short on wingers. So no Musa and no McKennie. You don't really have any true 8s. I wonder if Paxton Aronson could be that 8, at least one of them.
So what you're proposing is, let's go 7. You're saying Tyler, Johnny, Paxton,
Gio,
Tillman, Gio,
and Luna.
And then who's 7? You bring like a Busio, Tessman, Aiden
I guess
Morris.
in that one you could. What about Brendan Aronson?
We might need him on the wing because there's no Weah.
True. Okay, then yeah, I guess you could make. Then Tessman's probably the right call. Busio, I don't know. It hasn't really taken off for him in Serie A this year.
Tessman or Aiden Morris?
That's a good question.
That's a tricky one.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I know they're different players, but I don't know that either of them is necessarily a guy that you really trust to like do something. I think they're both just decent depth pieces to do a defensive job, but neither of them should really play that much if you have Johnny and Adams there.
Yeah, it's more of like pick one of those two. I think the level is actually much similar. I know people are going to say one's in the championship, the other one is in Liga. Yeah, but one is doing very well in the championship. Aiden Morris has been playing well for Middlesbrough for the most part.
Yeah.
While Tenor Tessman, I'm sorry, you can't say he's doing well for Lyon. He's gotten a few starts here and there in possession when Matic plays. Tessman doesn't see the ball very often. Matic is the one that handles that.
Yeah.
And he's had games where he looked solid, and he's had games where he dropped massive stinkers. I think he's a bit too slow to be in the midfield, especially on turn and even on recovery speed.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to go, oh, he's playing for Lyon Liga. He is, but it's not like he's standing out for Lyon, right? He's not.
But also his passing range, which is one of his, supposed strengths, it takes him too long. He needs a lot of time and space to make a really good pass, right? And you just don't. And maybe you'll get that in Gold Cup, right? Maybe, sure. But generally with Tessman, it's like, yeah, he's got this great passing range at times, but you really only see it when he was in Serie B or in MLS.
Like McGlynn.
So, yeah, again, I don't know if I have strong. I'll probably just bring Tessman, but I don't have the strongest preferences because I know both of them are just fighting for third place 6, kind of.
I'll make the case here for Tessman then. I'll agree with you. We'll go Tessman, and I'll say this. I'll bring Tessman to give him one more shot to make his case for the World Cup roster. And then if he fails, the next camp, it's Aiden Morris over him to give a shot to Aiden. I think that's fair. That would be like Tessman because, again, that would be something if Pochettino picked Aiden or Tessman, I wouldn't really complain about it. I was like, okay, you're making your choice there. I don't think it's a major issue.
He does seem to like Tessman more.
Yes. I wonder if Tessman would have played, though, if Johnny actually came into camp. That's what I wonder.
I don't think he would have. But between Tessman and Morris, at least from the last camp, we saw him bring Tessman in. So
yeah. So again, Tyler, Johnny, Tillman, Luna, and Gio, Tessman, and then Paxton Aronson. That would be those would be the 7 midfielders. No, guys, I wouldn't bring Jack McGlynn. I think that he looked better than Tessman that game. That is true, but it's not like he looked good. I have a lot of questions about his game in terms of speed, ability in tight spaces. And like Pete said, very similar to Tessman, he can hit those passes, those long-range shots too, when given time and space. Outside of that, I haven't seen enough. Luna from MLS, I would definitely bring. I think Luna 100% earned that spot. He 100% earned it right now. And I would bring Diego Luna right now.
Yeah.
Now, wingers. Wingers an interesting one. I would bring 4. But we have to cut Weah because technically he'll be with Juventus, and that's our starting right winger right now.
Yeah.
Pulisic is a lock. I think Haji should be a lock too.
Yeah.
But we need 2
Haji
more.
can also provide cover at center forward.
Yeah. So we need 2 more. Who do you go with?
For me, it's probably Brendan Aronson and Yunus Musa.
Yeah, I would say so. Because what are the other options? It's Zendejas
and maybe Griffin Yao.
Yeah, and then some people go out and say Cade Cowell, which no thank you for that. Who else? Kevin Paredes hasn't been playing. I don't think he's better than Brendan or better than Musa. So yeah, you probably go with Pulisic, Haji, and then Musa and Brendan, which the depth right there is a bit concerning. You might have to throw, since we're bringing 3 10s, we would probably have to throw maybe a Tillman, Gio, or Luna out wide at some point, depending on how the game's going.
Yeah. No, I think that's something you might have to do. Just real quick on Brendan Aronson. We have criticized Brendan a lot for his lack of production, but at least with Brendan, he will give you, even if it's just off the bench, some energy and some fight, which this team really is lacking right now. Like, if Brendan comes on, whether he's effective or not, this guy's going to, harry and press and run and defend and be an annoying little sort of terrier in the midfield or on the wing. So I would bring Brendan Aronson back because fight is a big problem in this team right now. And anybody with even a little bit of fight, we're like, bring him in. Like Diego Luna he's not this amazing player. He's a technical player and he has good awareness and he's making improvements. But what I think is most interesting about him is at least what he showed in the last 2 camps, is this guy will fight and he will defend and he will rush and he will harass, and he can also pick a pass, and he's very composed in the final third. I think that was the thing that's most impressive about him. His last 2 assists, the one for Agyemang, that was a lot of composure on that assist, and then also even Camp Cupcake to come and get an assist 2 minutes after your nose got broken, a nice through ball assist. It's like, as Pochettino said, big balls. So we need some bigger balls in this team. Like, there's a lot of small balls right now.
No, and I also think that a lot of the criticism towards Brendan Aronson has been fair because he hasn't really played that well. But when we talk about quality, I do think he has more quality than any American winger in MLS, and he has more quality than Zendejas. So when we talk about all of that, like when we're criticizing him, it's because we're holding him to a higher standard too, and he has been ineffective for the U.S. national team for quite some time.
Yeah.
But again, he is a guy that is starting week in and week out for Leeds, that is leading the EFL Championship and heading to the Premier League.
Will likely be promoted.
Yeah, I don't think they'll keep him as a starter for the Premier League, but he's showing to be capable of playing for the best team in the second division of England, which is a very competitive league.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the center forward, because the wingers was actually much easier than I expected. It's Pulisic, Musa, Aronson, and Haji, because Way is also not available. Let me ask you one question, actually, before we go. If Way is available for some reason, because Juve sells him or they don't want to bring him for whatever reason, they let him go to Gold Cup. Do you cut Brendan or Musa?
Honestly, I'd cut Musa.
Me too.
Like Musa, it's getting worse, not better with him. Even his performances for Milan, getting subbed out at the 24th minute, completely ineffective in his last few camps. I don't really see what he offers. The only reason he's there right now is because we don't have a ton of other options.
And potential, still living off potential.
Yeah. I mean, but we can make the same argument for Gio, right? The difference is Gio has performed for the national team in the past, right? Whereas Musa, has he really, outside of maybe
England?
the World Cup? Yeah. And that was what, 2.5 years ago?
Yeah. Well, more because 2.5, because we're a year away from the next World Cup.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, the other option would be send Musa to the midfield and cut like maybe Tessman. That's another thing to consider since we don't have many eights. Maybe that's what I would do. I'd probably send Musa to the midfield. I would cut Tessman and I would put Weah on the winger if it's the case.
Honestly, I'd almost just cut Musa to send a message.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes the message, if the player doesn't have the quality, the message doesn't even matter. It's not a lack of effort problem. He's always had effort.
True.
It's not really a lack of effort. Like McKennie is a player that you need to send a message, right? Because it's not a lack of quality. Gio, Musa, I've never had an issue with his effort. That's been fine. That's been really good, actually. But anyhow, let's go to the center forwards. This is an interesting one because I would bring 3 since we have a 26-man roster. And I hope I counted that right. I hope I counted 26 when I did the composition of the roster. To me, Balogun would be a lock to start, actually, right away. Yeah. Because Pepe is pretty much out from, as far as we know, Pepe's out. If Pepe's available, we bring him. But he had knee surgery. He's done for the season. I don't think they'll risk it. They're probably going to want him to recover during the summer and come back strong for PSV. So assuming Pepe is out, which is a fair assumption, I would still bring Sargent as the number 2. To me, he's still the backup of Balogun. I think Sargent is a better player than the other options that we're going to talk about, like Brian White and Agyemang, or even if we bring back a Jesus Ferreira or whatever, or Brendan Vasquez, right? That the guy from Austin cried when they signed him. It was like such a massive signing.
And the guy has, 0 goals in MLS in the first 8 games?
It might be in Austin. They conceded like 4 goals to Brian White. They did.
I mean, yeah, no, I know. I'm just saying to cry and get angry about this incredible signing you've made. And we know how MLS is, right? The defending is not great. So if you're not even blowing up MLS, what are we even talking about here?
Yeah, and even if we talk about the guys that are technically blowing up MLS, like Brian White, he has 6 goals in 7 games. But 4 of those goals came in 1 game. So the question is, before that, he had 2 goals in 6 games, which is pretty in MLS. Not that good. It's okay.
Remember, Ferreira, before he went to the World Cup, had 24 goal contributions in MLS in a season.
A very young one. A very young one. He wasn't in his prime like a Brian White, for example.
Right. And it didn't translate at all. So this is why MLS goals are fairly meaningless. But if you're not even doing that, it's like, come on, what are we talking about here?
So for the third center forward, I believe he's healthy at the time of this recording. I would just bring Damian Downs.
Yep.
And not because I think he's better than any of these guys. It's just like, can we give him a look? Can we
Yeah.
see? Like,
We've
it's more
seen
like,
the other guys.
yeah. Bring
Damian Downs
Balogun
is
and
also younger
Sargent.
than all of them. He's 20,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
So bring Balogun and Sargent because I think they're the two best options right now without Pepe. And honestly, maybe Haji might be a better option than Sargent. But right now, you're going to really need Haji on the wing without Weah.
Yeah.
But I would bring Damian Downs. And again, I'm going to say this once again before a portion of the fan base says, you think the guy in the second Bundesliga is better than MLS players? I'm like, no, that's literally not what I said. What I'm saying is we know exactly what Brian White can offer, which is almost nothing. We know what Agimon can offer, which is also very close to nothing. I would just give Damian Downs a shot this summer and see if he offers nothing too or something. That's it. That's what I would do. So Balogun, Sargent, and Damian Downs. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I would do that too. I mean, it's also, I don't know, is the two Bundesliga really worse than MLS? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think it's a huge gap either way. So
I wouldn't even get into that debate. It's more of just like, we haven't seen this guy and we know very well the other ones. We know because we watch him. I don't watch the second Bundesliga, just being honest, right? I don't watch it. So I've watched these guys in MLS, all right?
Yeah.
I've watched them and we've watched them for the national team. So we know exactly who Brian White, Aguiman are, Jesus Ferreira. Damian Downs, I don't know. And he was in the provisional roster. So I'm assuming Pochettino's like watching him. Bring him in, see what he can do.
Yeah.
And everyone, let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I don't need to recap the roster. We were pretty clear on each section who we would select. Again, this is what we would do. This is not what we think Pochettino will do. So we did this in a two-part series where one episode is here on Tactical Manager TV, the one we should do. On Pete's channel, 11 Yanks, we did one of what we think Pochettino will do, which is actually quite different. Trust us, it's a different discussion. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to follow Pete11 Yanks. Link will be in the bio of this video. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and drop a like before you go. Once again, this is taller and better looking Tom Cruise. And next to me, I have younger and more exotic looking Brad Pitt. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day. Bye-bye.